Spawning down here in the bottom, or excuse me, the top right. It's the Protoss CYAN. From GGGs. And in the bottom left, in the blue, from Shopify Rebellion, it is BYUN. Alrighty, so here we go. Game number 1 on 2,000 atmospheres. Always a good time. I love that we have the player cams. It looks like BYUN doesn't have his up at the moment, but it's been an interesting thing, and I love that we have incorporated it more and more into the StarCraft 2 scene. Really getting the reactions from the players as things happen. You know, if they get snuck into their base with a proxy and they do not scat it, and all of a sudden, you know, a bunch of stalkers pop up. It's really cool to kind of see the reactions to that, you know, the frustrations, the joys, the sorrows. You really can see a lot of different expressions. I think we have the same expressions, but to be able to see some of the pros still going through those emotions is interesting indeed. Now, we do see BYUN taking that all-important eBay block. This is something that he has been doing a lot more recently, and this is kind of to counteract the pressure that Protoss likes to put on across the map with the probe, you know, trying to delay the bunker, or excuse me, the barracks, or even just trying to delay the expansion of the Terran. So this allows basically BYUN an opportunity to get his expansion up a little bit quicker and still kind of keep CYAN or the Protoss in general at bay, kind of forcing them onto one base style. So 7X Core is on the way. We do see the factory coming through now for BYUN. Eventually does cancel the eBay, and we'll get that expansion down for the Protoss a little bit later than what he would have liked, but not too bad. Now, BYUN does send the SCV still across to get some damage, or at least get some scouting. See, has he taken an expansion? Is he going to continue to go on to kind of a one-base situation? Where does he want to go from here? And BYUN just going to be sending out a couple of Marines. Let's have that factory about finished up now. And of course the reactor on the barracks, which he will be able to switch around, and this is something that he likes to do. He likes to go into either double Hellions or open up like Hellion mine and eventually go across with some mine drops. So we'll see where he wants to go with this, as we do have a stalker on the way now for CYAN walking across the map, which will look to put on some pressure and kind of keep BYUN at home or in a defensive position. And there we have it, a couple of Hellions. Now this could be bad for BYUN, as he's only got 2 Marines, and Hellions aren't the best against stalkers. So we'll see where he wants to go behind this. Now, 2 more gateways going to be added on for CYAN behind this. He's got that stalker sitting at home. And it looks like he's just going to return back home with the stalker. He's not looking to get too much pressure on, and wants to keep those alive. Now we do have the Hellions making their way across the map at the same time. 2 Widow Mines being made and the starport just now being put down. CC is about finished up for BYUN, and it is being made in the high ground, just to make sure that it does finish, that it doesn't get canceled or anything like that crazy from the pressure coming from CYAN. So not too bad of a start here from BYUN. Now, after 4 Marines, it does look like he's going to go into a tech lab. Eventually, I believe he's going to be switching that up with the factory, be able to get the Marine production going, eventually go into like a Cyclone tank kind of situation. But not too bad. Now, CYAN does have a good number of stalkers. I believe he is on 4 or 5, which is going to allow him a pretty solid defense here, right? But BYUN is going to essentially try to drive into the main base with these mines, and then go in with the Hellions, or at least try to, you know, push them into one situation. And Hellions not going to be able to actually get in at this point, since the stalker is in place. There's a mine in the back. Ooh. Oh, he doesn't see it though. Okay, he's going to go into the main base, or the natural, excuse me. Looking to get some more pressure done. It will indeed force the pro pool. Stalkers in the main base will at least be able to force the medevac back. Mine does pop up though. Hellions looking to get in to get some damage. Doesn't look like though he's going to be able to get too much done with that. The Hellions does force another pro pool. The extra mines gets a total of 7 probes. not a bad start, and one Hellion does eventually make its way out. Only losing a couple of medevac, or excuse me, a couple of mines and a single Hellion. That is not bad at all for 8 probes altogether. There we go. Eventually we will see the starport getting moved around, barracks being added on. And eventually we will start seeing stim, we'll see combat shields coming through, and then eventually we will start seeing +1 coming here from the BYUN. Now on the other side, CYAN is going into robotics bay. He's getting the factory, or excuse me, the forge, be able to start getting those +1 upgrades for later on. And now a little bit of counter pressure coming out from CYAN, as we do have those stalkers facing the front, trying to get a couple of depots to supply block BYUN as much as possible. He will actually get a second depot, supply blocking BYUN just a little bit. Behind this, a warp prism going to be on the way. And finally, we do have a +1 on the way with that stim. So eventually he will be able to push out with the Marines, with Marauders, and +1. But for the time being, BYUN just going to sit back. He's got his tanks. He's got a Raven. He's basically protected against any kind of blink play that CYAN may try to pull. Even though, as we see, it is going to go straight into Colossus. He's going to go into extended thermal lance and getting +1 behind this, all while getting a 3rd base. Finally, it's going to get the Twilight Council, though, so that will allow him to eventually get into blink, get into charge. Even if he wanted to, I guess he could get into glaives, but knowing CYAN, that's not going to be the case, and indeed it is going to be charge to be added on that, give a little bit more tankiness to these zealots. And eventually we will see blink being added onto that. Now, BYUN still has the medevac outside the main base here of CYAN. He could go in and do some attacking, but for the moment, like I said, he's just kind of playing a little bit defensive. Might push out here now as a 3rd base is being built. Still in the main base though, but we will see BYUN start pushing up towards that 3rd base. He wants to keep it as low as possible, even keeping the Raven back for the time being. And he might actually be able to get on top of this, but BYUN still has that medevac up in the top for a little bit of pressure. If eventually he can just keep the vision on this 3rd base, he's going to come in, but already CYAN knows what's up, and he is going to keep a couple of stalkers in the main base just for extra defense against any such type. Go. War Prism is actually going to see this army moving around, as well as the Observer. Going to know exactly kind of where BYUN's army is, and that's going to be very crucial here for CYAN, as he does have charge finished up. He's got +1 finishing up as well. And not too bad. Gets 2 kills. Gets a 3rd kill. At the same time, going to attack into the 3rd base here. The army of CYAN is out of range, but eventually we'll get on top of this. One of the Colossus does end up getting shut down. We're going to get an EMP onto the army, excuse me, anti-armor missile. We'll look to push on here. Now the Raven does go down. A lot of these stalkers starting to fall, trying to move away with the Colossus, but they are starting to get very, very low, and oh no. The mine's starting to get lower as one does go off, killing off another 5 probes. Additional weapons, the stalkers and zealots come in here, as eventually it does look like CYAN will be able to hold, but the damage has been done. And we will see BYUN moving back, regrouping his army. He does have the tanks sieging up onto the high ground once again. Does have a few mines as well to kind of back up behind this. It's still that single mine kills off another zealot, getting more and more damage. GG will be called, and BYUN takes game number 1. In the bottom left, in the blue, give it up for BYUN. Shopify Rebellion. And in the bottom right, in the red, the Protoss CYAN from Good Game Gaming. Friday. Game number 2, of course, is going to be here on Blackburn, and we talked about this map being a little bit more proxy heavy sometimes, and a lot of that is because both bases are very close to each other. Not a lot of maps do we have where the bases are actually on the same side where they're both on the bottom, and the rush distance across isn't that great. Now, there are different ways you could approach it, going through the slow zones and just go straight across with drops, or any kind of pressure like that, or going around, which granted is a little bit longer, but you don't have to deal with the slowness, right? So you can take those engagements without having to worry about the slow, if you so choose to. So, as we get into this, we're going to see what BYUN wants to do, as well as what CYAN is looking to go for. We saw him last time kind of go up really quick into Colossus Tech, and instead of getting Blink, just went into Charge, which he didn't have a lot of Zealots at the time. He was very focused onto Stalker Tech before he switched into the Zealots, and by that time, BYUN was able to just go across and attack. So we'll see where he wants to go in a game number 2, if he wants to continue that kind of higher tech army, or if he does something a little bit different. Obviously, trying to go for a third base when BYUN is starting to push across isn't the best situation, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, definitely, if you want to keep BYUN at home, if you want to get him to play defensively so you can build up into that attack, you're going to have to do a tough job, because he has such a way to be able to kind of break those. And CYAN looking strong, just needs to change it up a little bit. So on the other side, though, we do see CYAN going into depths, which is a little bit different from the previous game, right? We saw him go into Stalkers the last time, and I don't know if it's necessarily like because of the map that he decided to go for the Stalker opening, but I do prefer the Adepts. I mean, they're able to get in pretty early, shade where they need to, and if they can get into the mineral line, Terrans do have a tough time dealing with them. But it looks like actually BYUN doing a pretty good job getting on top of the Adept. It actually loses the Adept. Ugh. Not a good start. The second Adept is about to pop out, though, for CYAN, as he is going to be going into that Twilight Council, adding on additional gateways, and has that Warp Gate tech being researched. Now, same stuff basically being played out here for BYUN, except for this time he is going more heavy into the Marines. He's only adding a couple of Widow Mines into the main base, just in case that there is some kind of Oracle opening or Void Ray opening trying to get into the main base and deal damage. Blink is going to be on the way here for CYAN as well. So yeah, not too bad. There we go. All right, behind this robotics facility will be the tech choice coming out from CYAN. Imagine we will actually see Colossus once again. A lot of Protosses like to go into that kind of 3 Colossus style and switch it up into Disruptors. But we will wait and see kind of where he wants to go. If we see that robotics facility robotics bay being thrown down, then we can definitely safely assume that he's going to be going into Colossus or some kind of Disruptor tech. So we will see. He is going pretty heavy, though, into the Adepts. I mean, he's made 3 or 4. So, I mean, it is doing a good job of at least keeping BYUN kind of at home, even though I feel like at this point BYUN could potentially just walk out. There we go. Ravens on the way, tanks on the way, and we do see those additional barracks starting to come down, as well as an eBay to start getting those upgrades. Blink now complete here for the Protoss, which will allow him to eventually kind of blink into the main. And CYAN has also taken this golden base. Now, it hasn't completed just yet. Oh, and CYAN does actually see it, so not a bad pickup, actually. You see the Stalker is able to kick out one of the mines, but doesn't know about the other mine yet. Go. Blue Safe Ink's going to make its way into the main base of BYUN, looking to see kind of where the tech structure is going to be for BYUN. Is he going to be going into some kind of meching style? Is he going to be going into something crazy? You see him eventually just take out one probe with that mine, backs it up, and automatically we see Blink going forward with the Stalkers, going to be able to clean that up, and so far evening things up here for CYAN. 6 more gateways on the way now for CYAN. So we do see a small little push coming out here from BYUN. At the same time, he does have that medevac still with the mine in it, taking the long way home to be able to actually start dealing some damage into the natural. Gets another probe kill. At the same time, we do see this push coming out here from BYUN. The tank slowly starting to push forward. Stalkers will be able to blink back, but too bad. We do see actually 6 kills with that single Widow Mine. Usurper graciously pointing out as 12 probes so far have gone down. BYUN even using the Raven turret to get a 13th kill. Still just keeping pressure all over the board, and whenever you go into something like this, with the gold base, you're taking a risk, right? Because it is so much in the open that it just seems like sometimes you just are not able to get done what you want to. It's kind of a, you can take the gold base and get a lot of mineral income, but you also take the risk of losing a lot of mineral income if they're able to get your probes, get your SCVs, whatever have you. Here we go, nice little push coming out here from CYAN though. Let's have some Stalkers, some Sentries, and a couple of Zealots, as BYUN was trying to take a third base, not going to be able to. We'll actually force the move back and just barely out of tank range. A Raven still across on the gold base, trying to deal some damage with the turrets. Eventually we'll be able to bring that back home, passing the Ultralisk on a spike. And yeah, not too bad. You see the tanks getting sieged up, as he will be able to eventually take this third base once again, start getting the mineral income coming through, and CYAN looking to go around to, I guess, kind of flank around the back of BYUN, but I definitely think that it might be a little bit too late for that. I mean, tanks are already in a good position, Ravens, and even the mines are in a pretty good position. At the same time, though, we do see a nice warp in at the bottom of BYUN's base. This could get some damage done if CYAN gets BYUN kind of distracted long enough. Here he comes. He's going to go into the main base. There's still a good chunk of Marines and Marauders. Going to just drop those. Doesn't actually get to the mineral line, as we already see the Marines and stuff returning back home. More Zealots do get warped in. Looking to go on top of the mineral line finally. At the same time, blinking on top of the tanks. A nice little anti-armament missile goes on top of the Stalkers as the Marines and Marauders trying to push back, picking up whatever units they can. So far, 6 probes do end up falling. It looks like BYUN has held that off, and we'll be able to just continue into the production now. He does have a third base done. Has been mining. Behind this, we do see CYAN transitioning into that Templar Archives, and even adding on more Zealots. He's got +2 on the way, +1 shields, and just continually trying to produce more. Unfortunately, the Zealot run-by is not getting that much done. Does have a lot of Zealots, so to be able to get on top of some of these smaller run-bys from BYUN. But now CYAN is kind of out of position, and BYUN's just going to be able to start pushing across, but this Warp Prism has potential to do damage. Mine's going to be hanging out. We do see these Zealots getting some damage done into the natural base of BYUN. Going off 7 more SCVs. At the same time, we do see BYUN going into the natural. The mine's going to be in a pretty fantastic place, damaging a lot of these Zealots, weakening them up pretty quickly. Raven does eventually go down, but now there's no Zealots here with the army of CYAN. CYAN GG's, and BYUN takes the series 2-0.